as Mr. Luchin said, like I said, Justin Vorwald, I live in Elkader. I am an attorney and I'm a magistrate as well, so I get to try cases and then I also get to decide cases. I graduated from EDCO in 2003, so I'm really old. I was doing the math and I thought about this. Some of you weren't born when I graduated. It's possible. It is possible. You were not?
I was.
You were born. Good. I'll take it. Okay. I was thinking there could be some on the low end, some young junior high kids might not have been born when I graduated, so very old. So from here I went to Loras College in Dubuque, and then I went to Iowa for law school. It's been fun. I've been practicing now for about 5.5 years. There's a lot of things you learn that you don't learn in school. Most things you learn you probably don't learn in school, to be honest with you. And so I guess we'll try to get into a little bit about how I came to this point and what you guys can do to either, if you're interested in this, to do that, or to just be generally successful. I think that's probably the goal. So I guess I should also say one other thing, only so I give my wife some credit here. She is also an attorney, and she's the assistant county attorney for Delaware County, whereas I am the magistrate in Clayton County, and then I also have an office that's Earhart, Nagy, McCorkindale, and Vorwald in Elkader. So, like I say, I started out here and graduated in 2003, and I was involved in all sorts of stuff. And I would say, going way back, there are some keys to success, and there are ways to build on those skills that you need for the future, and I think everybody here could probably do it. And the number one thing that I think of, and I think was probably the key for me, have you ever heard the phrase, know thyself? Anybody ever heard that? No? Socrates? The Temple of Delphi? No? Okay. Well, just for a moment, you're going to indulge me. I'm going to take a tangent. The Temple of Delphi, there was an oracle there. This is back in ancient Greece. You would go there, and part of it was, before people would go to war, they would go to ask the oracle whether they think it's a good idea. They would ask to have their future told. And on the floor, there was an inscription. Obviously, this is in Greek, but it said, know thyself. That was the answer, basically. I mean, they didn't realize it when they walked in the door, but that was the answer. You already knew the answer when you went in. If you knew who you were, you knew what your strengths were, you knew what your weaknesses were, you already had your answer before you even got there. And so right now, I look at you guys, and you're all pretty young to me, like incredibly young to me. So, except for some of the teachers, no offense, guys. But that's what you guys are working on right now. That's what I think, at least, if I remember what it was like for me in junior high and high school. You're trying to figure out who you are, and it's tough. It's not fun, because you're a little uncomfortable, you're a little awkward, and you want to be cool. You want to be cool more than anything else. And sometimes it's not always in the cards, but once you become comfortable with who you are, that's the first step to success. Knowing who you are and being comfortable with it. For me, that meant I was a nerd, and I was happy about it. It was fine. It took me a little while. I wanted to be good at sports. I was not good at sports. Not good at all, for the most part. Lack coordination. I could run. That's what I could do. So I did track. But otherwise, no, that wasn't me. And you guys need to start to think about these things. What things do you like? What things are you good at? What things are you bad at? And then the real question becomes, and this is I think the second key to success, is are you willing to put in the work to get better at that? That's the other thing you have to do, is work. For the things that you want, you're going to have to work. There are some things that, and in my life I would say, school generally was relatively easy for me. I didn't have to work for it. To begin with, I didn't have to work that hard. I just showed up, and that was enough. Paid attention in class, the end. People who learn to work hard are much better off than people who just naturally get it and it's easy, because later on it's going to get hard. Everything that you think is easy now, that's because they're only giving you this much. Later on you're going to start getting this much, and then you're going to get this much, and it's not going to be easy. So you need to learn how to work hard. Because truly, and I'm sure the sports have this phrase, something about hard work beats talent every day, something to that effect. That's true. It really is. So you have to be willing to work hard. You have to know what you're good at. And then you also have to get involved. To me, that's one of the most important things you can do, is get involved. Because if you're not involved in these things, you don't know what you're good at, you don't know what you like, it's difficult to do those other things. And it opens up doors for you, more than you'd think. And I'll go into some of the stuff about me in a bit, but in general, you want to participate, try different things. You'll find out that there are things that you hate and despise, but you did it and you'll say, well, I'm not doing that again. There are other things that you'll do and you'll think, oh, this is great, I should keep doing this. Maybe there's a career in it, maybe there's a future someplace. And so you'll look for that. And then I keep going back to character, or ideas for success, or keys to success, and one of the last ones I would say is character. There is you heard the phrase, nice guys finish last. Nice guys finish last, you've heard that? That's wrong, that's wrong. I'll be honest with you, it's wrong. Nice guys, and ladies, nice ladies too, be a little more politically correct. You don't finish last. You end up finishing first. You lose battles. You lose battles, you lose a particular event. Where the bad guy, the dirty guy, gets ahead on that. But in general, nice guys finish first. I mean, in the end, you win the war, because nobody wants to deal with the jerk. Nobody wants to deal with the person who doesn't treat other people well, who doesn't respect people. One of my things, for at least my office, I can judge a client who comes in the door pretty quickly, depending on how they treat my secretary. If they talk to the person in a civil, nice way, they're all right. If you talk to somebody who treats the secretary or treats somebody else significantly different than they treat you, you know they're a jerk. And those are the people you don't want to work with. And I'm not the only attorney who would say that, and I'm not the only, and attorneys aren't the only profession where you find this out. If whatever you're doing, let's say you work at XI, if you're a jerk, people are going to figure it out, and they're not going to want to work with you. They're not going to cut you the breaks that they'll cut you if you're a nice guy, if you're a good guy. And it's about morality. It's about being upright. And part of that is, at least in my mind, and all of these tend to lead to what I would define success as, which is being a contributing member to society. If you're not a contributing member to society, or of society, you are not a success, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if you make $50 million. You're not a success. That's not the way I would define it. I don't care if you win trophies. I don't care if you're Kanye West out there saying, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. And sure, he sold a whole bunch of things. He's not a success to me. He doesn't do anything for society. And again, that's my opinion. You guys might disagree and think that Yeezy is the best there is, but I don't know. So you need to be successful, and you need to take the steps in order to be successful. And so I'll try to talk a little bit about me. I grew up here my whole life. I went to school here my whole life, and growing up in Edgewood, and I lived in Edgewood, but growing up in Edgewood and Colesbury is pretty good, to be honest with you. You don't realize it now because you think, oh, I don't have a mall in town, I don't have all of these shopping opportunities. It's worth more to be able to ride. I mean, when I was a kid, I walked from my house, which was a mile away, to the pool as unattended, and there was never a concern. It wasn't that my parents were neglectful. It was just, you didn't worry about it. It was nice. You did it, and there was never a problem. And one of the reasons for that is because Edgewood's a nice town. Colesburg is a nice town. People look out for each other. And again, that's part of contributing to society as far as I see it. But for me, I was a Boy Scout. I wasn't a Boy Scout to begin with. I started 13 or so, 12 maybe. And because I was a Boy Scout, I learned a few things, and to be honest with you, I thought they were hokey. Even as a kid, I thought, ugh, this is so cheesy, it can't be serious. A scout is brave, thrifty, clean, reverent, etc., etc. Come on. You internalize it. You don't even realize it, but you're internalizing it when you're doing it. It becomes a part of you a little bit. You recognize that that's something you do. You help people. You do the right thing. And so scouting was a great opportunity for me. I was an Eagle Scout. I got to go to Philmont, New Mexico, which was a lot of fun. Go on a hike, and that was a hike where I actually learned something about myself too. Going back to the know thyself. At the time, I would have been 15, and I weighed 120 pounds maybe, probably not even that, 115. And so they had like special weight restrictions for me. I couldn't carry a pack that was more than I think 25% of my body weight because I was so gangly and gaunt, to be honest. And so I got out there, and I'm a very picky eater. And so the first day out there, they're like, we're pulling you off the trail. You've got it. This kid's not eating. He's going to starve out here. And he's skinny, weak, generally. And I said, no, I'm not. I didn't come to New Mexico so I could go sit back at base camp. So what did I do? They put food in front of me, and I ate it. Didn't matter if it was good. You eat it. You do what you have to do to stay up there. And then the next day, they said, we'll give you a day. We'll see how you do. And so they put me out front because they figured, he's slow. He's not going to be able to keep up. And I set the pace, and we were grueling. If you guys, did you play Oregon Trail, or is that too old? You set the pace to grueling and the rations to meager. That's what I was doing. We're going. We're going to make it. And so people had to stop. People had to stop. They had me stop numerous times during the day because they couldn't keep up. And it was, to be honest, it felt awesome. It felt great. I was looking back at the older kids especially, the guys who were in good shape. They're out for football. They're out, and I'm blowing by them. And it's pretty fun. So again, you find out a little bit about yourself by doing some of those things. You don't know it if you don't challenge yourself. And so then I was on the trail just fine, and they kind of just said, oh, never mind, I guess he's all right. And I carried more than the 25% too. I can certainly say that. I remember one kid who was bigger than me by 2 times-ish. He was about twice my size. I lifted his pack the one day, and I thought, you're carrying the same pack I am. And I had choice words. I didn't say them at that moment, because again, a scout doesn't say those things. He might think them. So I got to do that. That was something that I would never have done if I hadn't gone there, and I wouldn't have learned that about myself. And I wouldn't have learned to work hard, too. From that little piece told me that I could do it if I wanted to. You guys could do it if you want to. Yeah, but you have to be willing to work. You have to be willing to sweat and to say, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to show you that I can do it. So that's first thing, I guess, I would say from when I was younger where I really learned that. I was also in 4-H. And I did not grow up on a farm. I am not at all involved in agriculture, really. I don't know anything about it. But I got to go on a trip to D.C. doing it, so it was great. They paid for me to go there, and I was very happy to do it. So again, there are opportunities there, even if you want to be a little selfish when you look at it. Get involved, and then all of a sudden you get to go places that you wouldn't have gone otherwise. So, and I should also say, at any point, if you guys want to interrupt me, because I'll just speak at length. Haley knows. I'm her uncle, by the way. So, yes, I will speak forever. And she gets a little red-faced when I say that. That's fine. So then I went to Loras. I graduated, I went to Loras. I had started out there, and I thought, I'm going to do biochem. That's going to be great. I'm going to really love that. Because I had taken a class, and I will jump back for just a moment, and I'm going to apologize to the teachers in the room when I say this. My favorite class in high school was a class with Mr. Millis. human biology. And the reason I liked it wasn't because I was planning to go into medicine. I wasn't. It was because he was hard. He was the first teacher that I ever had where I was afraid. I was actually afraid to fail in that class. I was afraid. It made me work. I had never worked before. I look at the book and then pay attention, and that's that. Mr. Millis, one class, he'd use the Socratic method. If you're familiar with the Socratic method, Haley, you know what the Socratic method is? So I just did it. You just failed. You just failed. You just failed right there. The Socratic method is, I ask you questions. That's it. I ask you questions, you speak. And so that's it. That's the Socratic method, and that is what law school is. It's very different. But that's what Mr. Millis used. And I remember one girl got up there and she said something very dumb. Very dumb. And early on, and Mr. Millis let her go on and on and on. And he just let her keep digging that grave she was going in. And then at the end, he's like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Sit down. And it was amazing because we're embarrassed for her. She's embarrassed, but she doesn't even know that he's found her out. But I learned at that moment, fear is a good motivator. You don't want to look foolish in front of everybody else. And it taught me to work hard. I worked hard in that class because there was no way I was going to let Mr. Millis get me up there and say something even a little bit stupid where he could take me and lead me down a path that was going to result in me standing there for 40 minutes looking like an idiot. So that was one thing I would say. Then going back to Loras, I went to Loras, started biochem, I switched. I ended up going history and politics. Again, big change, but I was in the honors program there. Not necessarily because I wanted the honors program, but because the honors program meant that I was going to be hanging out with people who were like me, nerdy. Some of them were nerdy, some were athletes, but generally we cared. That was the number one thing. We cared about what we were doing. We cared about our academics, and that made everything else in that class. That made my friendships with those people. When I look at my core group of friends from college, they were honors kids. They were honors kids because we had classes together, and we shared a similar interest in doing well. And so that's something that you guys can have whether you're in honors or not. I mean, there's certainly the option for that. And I don't know, is there a clock in here at all? Okay.
Time stands still in here.
It does, doesn't
it? You're fine.
Okay.
10 minutes.
Okay. I'll try to keep moving along. Thank you.
I'm betting these will run over, don't you think?
Probably.
Okay, yeah, I'm speaking a lot. Again, interrupt me if you have questions, because I'll try to keep moving a little bit faster. So, at Loras is where I really got involved. In high school I was involved. I did track, like I said. Wasn't that good. I did speech. Wasn't that good either. But I did it. And it makes you a little bit more comfortable getting up and speaking in front of people like this. But you're still nervous. You're always still a little nervous. But it's good. With practice, you get used to it. So I was at Loras. I was an RA, so I was resident advisor. I was a peer assistant, so I helped teach a couple of classes. I was in mock trial. I didn't do moot court that yet. I didn't do that.
You might need to explain what those are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Nope.
I guess they need that.
So mock trial. What mock trial is basically you are given a case as a student. You have teams. You're given a case packet, and you have to go out. It's like a speech competition, but it's a speech in the context of law. So you have to argue actual law. I learned the rules of evidence in undergrad because that's what was required. That was the deal. So I learned the federal rules of evidence. So I did mock trial. So you compete, and I got to go to. We had a competition in USC at USC my first year. So I got to go out to LA, and again the school pays for it all. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. Go out to LA for a few days. We had one that went to New York. I think we had one in Florida for some reason. I don't think I was on that one. But I was in mock trial. And again, you find people that are really interested in the stuff you're interested in, and that's the best. That's the best thing about it, is you find people that you're going to be friends with, that are going to be resources for you, and that you're going to help each other. You're going to challenge each other, and you're going to help each other. And that's part of being a good person a little bit. Because there are some people who would not help you, and you find that out, especially when you get into law school. There's a little more competitive. People are willing to do some backstabbing and things of that nature. So mock trial I was in, I was on the executive board for student government, which was another good thing to be involved with, and the really nice perk of it is they paid me. I got a salary from the school to be on student government. It wasn't a lot, but when you're 21 years old, and you have a whole bunch of student loans and all that, you don't need a lot. You're just happy to have some money. So I did that. I was in campus ministry, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a stone's throw away from being an atheist. I don't want to offend everybody or talk about religion too much, but I was involved with it because it was something I wasn't familiar with, and I wanted to learn more about it. I wanted to understand why this group thought this particular thing. I didn't understand some of it, so I was involved. I was a voice. I was on the leadership committee for campus ministry, and I didn't necessarily know if there was a God. So it was, and this is at a Catholic school. This is something that you can look at, and you should think about some of these things. That's part of knowing who you are. Again, this is figuring out who you are, who you're going to be, is to question these things, and you should. So I was involved in all sorts of those things. I did intramurals. Again, I am not an athlete, although we did win the intramural for best soccer team because we had a couple of players that actually knew what they were doing. I just ran around, basically. Couldn't control the ball, couldn't do anything. But it was fun. Again, I just talked to, and again, now I have another family connection here. Miranda Barnhart is my cousin's daughter. And I found out she's planning to go to Loras. So of course, if you're looking to go to school, go to Loras. It's a good place, I love it. But yeah, exactly, I was gonna say, we've got a couple in here. Go to Loras, but she's not going to live on campus right now. That's her plan. Huge mistake, huge mistake. You want to be on campus. That's how you get involved, that's how you meet people, that's how, there are a lot of things that I won't tell you about, but stuff that you did in college that is just a ton of fun. Not illegal, not anything bad, I'm not saying that, but it was fantastic, and you don't want to miss out on that experience, because that'll make you who you are. That will definitely have a big part in making you who you are. So, at school, at Loras, I was involved in just about everything. Really, it felt like it, but it was also great, because it teaches you to manage your time, which is something that you'll need to be successful in the future. You're going to have to manage time. You can't put things off. And I still have a problem sometimes with procrastination, but you can't do it. When you get busy like that, and again, it's kind of like when I was in Philmont. You learn things about yourself when you're put under pressure, when you're stressed. You learn things, and then you can, after that, say, well, I don't maybe need that stress to make myself this efficient. Maybe I could just do that without having somebody holding a gun to my head, type of a thing. So, after that, I went to Iowa for law school. And at law school, I found out that I wasn't that smart, that I wasn't that brilliant, that I was going to have to work. I had found out a little bit of that at Loras, but I didn't find it out like I did until I got to law school. I went and took a test, and actually, I'll take that back. My first test at Loras, I didn't read anything, nothing. I just thought, I'll wing it, it's biology, I know this stuff. I got 2 out of 10 on this quiz. It was just a quiz. I got 2 out of 10, and I went, holy crap, I am in trouble. I need to actually look at the book at least. I need to do more than just pay attention in class. And so that was my first taste. Law school is very different. You have to do the work because everybody else who's in there is as smart and probably smarter than you. And I'm just going to tell you guys this, even if you're a genius in here, there's somebody smarter than you. There's somebody smarter, always. There's always somebody smarter. There's always somebody who's going to work harder. And the people who work harder are the ones who win, not the smartest one, because I found that out pretty quickly. I thought I was pretty smart. That wasn't good enough. That was not even close to good enough. I had to be better than that. I had to work hard. I had to read. I didn't read before this. I thought, I can make it, I can wing it, You can't. You gotta work hard. That's all there is to it. So while I was at Iowa, I didn't get involved as much. I didn't get involved with Iowa. I was on a journal, the Journal of Corporation Law, and I was on a moot court competition. And moot court I tried. Again, this is another lesson where, for me, I tried. And I found out that I was one of the 8 best for moot court in the class of 225. I found out that I could compete with them when I tried, but I needed to try. And I wish I had done more, perhaps, because at Loras, and what makes me love Loras still, and I say this as I was on the president of the Young Alumni Advisory Association, or excuse me, Young Alumni Advisory Board until this last year. And
Is that because you're not young anymore?
it's almost actually, I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to not. Actually, I stopped doing that because I was getting spread too thin, and I'll try to keep moving along, but I'll get to that in a second. So I didn't get involved at Iowa the way I did at Loras, and it wasn't as much fun. It wasn't as good of an experience. It really wasn't. So you want to be involved. It makes everything else easier. So I'm an attorney in Elkader. I'm on the hospital board for Central Community Hospital. I am on Dollars for Scholars for Central High School. I am on a nonprofit which provides low-income housing for people there with subsidies. I'm also a soccer coach, which is probably my favorite thing. I'm a soccer coach. I don't have any kids, and I told people at the beginning, I swear I'm not a weird guy. I just like soccer. I'm not like weird coming around your kids, because I'm coaching little kids. Let's be honest, it's kind of weird. You're like, oh, you're in your 20s and you don't have any kids yourself, but you're coming around my kids. It's a little weird. So I'm like, no, seriously, I just like soccer. Because, and this was one thing I was going to say, was in law school I did get to go to France. I studied in France for 2 months. It was great. It taught me something, for sure, which is every time that you see people get annoyed with somebody who's in the country who doesn't speak the language, and I think about this, the stereotype of Mexican immigrants who don't speak English. Holy cow, it's very difficult. It is very difficult to be in a country that they don't speak your language, and you're walking around going, I'm the minority, I'm the guy who doesn't speak the language, and they look at me like I'm an idiot. Because I'm going, can I sit here on the train by you? It's uncomfortable. And so I learned to be nice to people and to understand, hey, they're not going to speak the language, but it's a good thing. So, like I say, there are all sorts of good opportunities out there, but you have to get involved. You have to know what you want to do. You have to be willing to know who you are. You have to be willing to work for it. And you got to be a good person, because otherwise nobody's going to catch you any breaks.